The jungle did not whisper tonight, it screamed. Lightning tore the canopy, and thunder cracked like the sky itself was splitting. A lone cry echoed, sharp and raw, cutting through the night. A deer stumbled in the mud, its legs trembling. Its chest heaved, the scent of fear spilling into the storm. David, the young survivor of this wilderness, said, "Run though your legs betray you." The forest seemed alive with predators, their eyes glowing faintly between branches. Shadows leapt and vanished, silent but waiting. The rain poured heavier, blurring sight, drowning hope. A jaguar, sleek and merciless, prowled with deliberate silence. The beast's muscles rippled like shadows given form. In that instant, prey and predator shared the same truth. The jungle's mercy was only illusion. And as the deer's breath caught, the scream returned, closer, crueler, inevitable. The storm raged with no mercy, drowning the forest in chaos. David said, "This night chooses who breathes and who does not." The deer stumbled further, hooves breaking twigs, breath sharp and ragged. The jaguar's silhouette lingered in the dark, patient, unhurried. Thunder shook the ground, disorienting every living thing. Lightning revealed branches snapping overhead, one crashing down near David's feet. He gritted his teeth, whispering through clenched jaw, "Not yet." The jungle exhaled as though alive, each gust of wind shifting predators closer. For every heartbeat, danger pressed tighter. The echo of survival was louder than the storm itself. The deer's fragile legs buckled, mud swallowing its hooves. The scream that left its throat split the storm's roar, raw and piercing. David clenched his jaw, whispering, "Every sound brings death closer." The jaguar's shadow shifted with terrifying precision, circling unseen. The night itself seemed to conspire, thunderclaps masking the predator's movements. The deer's eyes widened, reflecting the lightning, helpless and exposed. David's chest pounded with every beat, torn between instinct to strike or stay hidden. He muttered under his breath, "The jungle gives nothing, it only takes." With each breath, the predator grew closer, and the storm became its ally. The jaguar emerged from shadows, muscles rippling under rain, eyes burning gold. David inhaled sharply, whispering, "The shadow walks." The predator's movements were fluid, graceful, each step silent, despite the storm. The deer thrashed desperately, legs sliding in mud, struggling against fate. Lightning split the sky, revealing predator and prey within the same violent frame. The storm muted everything but the rhythm of survival. David's heartbeat thundered in his ears, louder than the sky itself. He pressed his spear tighter to his chest, whispering, "If I falter, I fall." The jungle, indifferent, only bore witness. The storm's fury reached its peak, branches whipping, water flooding paths. The deer screamed again, collapsing fully, flanks heaving. David whispered, "The choice is made tonight." The jaguar lunged, claws slicing mud, body a streak of lightning's reflection. Time fractured in the moment, predator mid-air, prey frozen, man caught between both worlds. His grip on the spear shook violently, torn between survival and mercy. "This jungle decides, not I," he muttered. And in that instant, every sound, every shadow, every drop of rain converged into one truth. Survival is never earned, it is stolen. The storm softened into a heavy drizzle, the jungle steaming with the heat of survival. David's chest rose sharply, his spear still clutched. He whispered, "The jungle takes, but it also spares." The deer lay trembling, sides heaving, its innocence screaming louder than its voice. The jaguar had vanished into shadows, patient, circling. David's eyes softened as he watched the fragile life before him. "You fight so the earth swallows you," he murmured. Each breath of the deer was shallow, every blink a plea for mercy. The storm had not broken it, yet its survival hung by threads. The silence pressed heavy, demanding choice. The deer struggled to rise, mud clinging like chains. Its legs shook violently, body quivering with exhaustion. David muttered, "You are not built for war, yet you fight as though the jungle bows to you." His voice cracked with quiet awe. The storm's remnants dripped rhythmically, every sound amplifying the frailty of the moment. The jaguar's growl rumbled faint in the distance, reminding him the danger was not gone. David pressed his hand to the ground, whispering, "Every creature bears its cross." His eyes flickered, seeing his own struggle mirrored in the deer's trembling frame. The jungle breathed, waiting. David leaned forward, watching the deer stumble to its knees again. "Fragile things break so easily," he whispered, "yet they also endure longer than stone." His words carried a strange reverence. The air was thick with steam, his breath heavy, his heart slower now but still restless. Thunder rolled distant, reminding him of what lurked nearby. He knew the jaguar was patient, calculating. His eyes fell back to the deer and he muttered, "You are the weight that keeps me from forgetting mercy." The jungle seemed to close in, dark leaves dripping like tears. The night was not yet finished. The deer lifted its head, ears twitching at phantom echoes. David whispered, "The jungle has not spared you. It only delays its hand." His voice trembled between fear and empathy. The jaguar's eyes glowed faintly in the distance, unblinking, waiting. The deer's fragile breaths misted into the damp night air. David clenched his fist around the spear, yet did not raise it. "This night ties us," he muttered, his words lost beneath dripping leaves. The jungle's silence pressed heavier than thunder. For the first time, David realized he cared not for his own survival, but for another's. The drizzle eased, leaving mist rising from the ground like smoke. David pressed his palm against the earth, whispering, "The ground drinks blood every night. But tonight it will drink yours only if I falter." His breath shook as he watched the deer strain again, lifting one trembling leg. Lightning flickered faintly beyond the canopy, and for a moment, the jungle's violence seemed to pause. David whispered once more, "Hope lives as long as you breathe." The silence afterward was not mercy, but it was enough. The jungle's eyes still watched, but for now, the deer remained. The jungle exhaled sharply, no longer softened by rain. David's eyes swept the shadows, hearing every crack of branches as if each step was death itself. The deer swayed on unsteady legs, trembling but upright. He whispered, "Stand, though the world pushes you down." A low growl rolled through the dark, deeper than thunder, closer than breath. The jaguar was circling, invisible yet certain. David's grip on his spear tightened, his chest heaving with dread. He muttered, "Every step closer brings an end." The jungle pulsed with menace, silence fractured by distant cries. The air thickened, danger was no longer waiting, it was coming. The jaguar's eyes glimmered from the underbrush. Unblinking, patient. David swallowed hard, whispering, "You do not strike yet, you study." The deer's breath came in short bursts, steam rising from her nostrils in the cool dawn air. Thunder rumbled faint in the distance, as if the storm had not ended but only hidden. David's body quivered, his instincts demanding retreat, yet he stepped forward instead. "If she falls, I fall," he muttered. The jaguar's tail swished once, and then the shadow was gone. Silence pressed heavier than its growl, suffocating. The jungle offered no comfort, only the promise of violence. The deer staggered, nearly collapsing, hooves dragging through wet earth. David muttered, "Rise again, though every fall is heavier." His eyes darted, searching for escape that did not exist. A crow's harsh cry echoed overhead, the jungle mocking their struggle. The jaguar moved unseen, its presence like fire at David's back. He gritted his teeth, whispering, "The jungle does not forgive hesitation." The deer lifted her head once more, eyes glassy but defiant. David's heart clenched at the sight. For every faltering breath she took, the predator drew closer. The rhythm of survival was quickening, a drumbeat of dread. The mist thickened, shrouding the jungle floor in a veil of uncertainty. David's chest pounded as he turned slowly, spear ready. "You are here," he said, into the silence. The jaguar's shadow flickered between trunks, always closer, never clear. The deer pressed herself low, trembling. David muttered, "You wait for weakness, but I will not break." His voice wavered as much as it defied. The air smelled of wet leaves and fear, thick and suffocating. The silence stretched longer than his patience. Then a rustle, sharp, violent, from the left. The predator had chosen its angle. A sudden rush broke the silence. The jaguar lunged from the mist, claws outstretched. David's arm snapped upward, spear braced with trembling hands. "Not yet!" he shouted, voice ragged with fear. The deer screamed, hooves thrashing in panic. The predator's weight crashed against the spear's point, snarling fury filling the air. David's legs buckled, mud splattering across his face as he fought to hold ground. "Survive!" he roared, though the word was more to himself than the deer. The jungle erupted, wings burst from trees, echoes of chaos rippled outward. The fight had begun. The jaguar recoiled, growling low, eyes burning with fury, but not striking again. David gasped, spear trembling, mud dripping from his face. The deer's ragged breaths echoed like thunder. Then it struck him. The predator hesitated. He whispered, "Why do you wait?" The jaguar's chest heaved, not in hunger but in weariness. Lightning revealed scars across its flank, wounds old and fresh. David muttered, "You bleed too." The jungle's silence deepened, no longer one-sided. The predator was not invincible. It was surviving its own war. The revelation shook him. Predator and prey were both chained by the same law: survival. The deer staggered again, collapsing to its knees, body quaking. David whispered, "Her life calls to you, yet you hold." The jaguar's ears twitched, head lowering, a growl more pained than threatening. The predator's ribs pressed against its skin, hunger gnawing deep. David's eyes widened. "You are starving," he muttered. The jungle revealed its cruelty not in teeth, but in famine. Lightning flickered weakly, and in its glow, predator and prey mirrored each other's fragility. David's chest tightened as he realized the truth. This was not just a hunt. It was desperation. Survival stripped bare of choice. David exhaled sharply, his grip on the spear loosening. "The shadow you wear is not cruelty. It is need," he whispered. The deer's head lifted weakly, eyes wide, unaware of the revelation between man and predator. The jaguar snarled low, yet its body swayed, weakened by hunger. David's mind raced. The jungle's law was not predator over prey. It was survival at any cost. He whispered, "We are the same." The thought chilled him more than the storm had. The predator was not the villain. It was simply the mirror of his own desperation. The jaguar lowered its head, growling deep, then stepped back into the mist. David's chest rose sharply, torn between relief and dread. The deer pressed itself low, quivering. He whispered, "It spares her, or it spares itself." The truth rattled him. Mercy was not mercy. It was calculation. The predator's strength was fading, forcing it to retreat. Yet the jungle gave no promises. The jaguar would return, hungrier, more desperate. David muttered, "The enemy is not the beast. It is the hunger we share." The jungle around him was no longer enemy nor ally. It was judge. The mist swallowed the jaguar, leaving silence that rang louder than its growl. David's breath came shallow, his body trembling from the weight of truth. He whispered, "The jungle spares no one. It only decides who waits longer." The deer's fragile form pressed against mud, a symbol of innocence clinging to life. David lowered his spear completely, eyes burning with clarity. "You are not enemy. You are reflection," he murmured into the emptiness. The jungle, vast and absolute, loomed over them both. Predator, prey, and man. All broken under the same law. Survive or be taken. The mist parted with sudden violence. The jaguar returned, hunger now stronger than hesitation. David's chest pounded, spear raised once more. "The jungle grants no second mercy," he whispered. The deer staggered, legs collapsing beneath her again. The predator's growl ripped through the silence, deep and shaking. David stepped forward, placing himself between prey and hunter. His voice cracked. "If you want her, you must break me first." The jungle roared in approval. Branches shuddered, crows scattered. The predator lowered its head, muscles tense, eyes blazing gold. Time fractured. The fight would end tonight, one way or another. The jaguar lunged, claws outstretched, body a blur of muscle and hunger. David braced his spear, feet sinking deep into mud. "Hold!" he screamed, voice breaking. Impact thundered as predator struck steel. The spear groaned, splintering, jaguar snarling inches from his face. Its hot breath reeked of desperation. David's arms shook violently, his body crushed under its weight. He cried out, "Not yet, not yet." The deer screamed again, a cry of pure terror echoing across the jungle. Lightning flared, freezing predator and man in savage collision. The fight had no rhythm, only chaos, raw and unrelenting. The spear snapped. David stumbled back, mud swallowing his knees. The jaguar lunged again, claws grazing his arm, blood streaking red across his skin. He gasped. The jungle always takes its price. Pain ripped through him, yet he staggered back to his feet. The deer thrashed wildly, hooves striking mud, fear screaming in her eyes. David lifted the broken spear, its jagged edge trembling. He shouted, "Come!" The jaguar snarled, circling, eyes locked on weakness. David's blood dripped into the mud, the earth drinking it eagerly. Predator and man mirrored each other, wounded, desperate, unyielding. The jaguar charged again, but David lunged sideways, driving the jagged spear into its flank. A roar split the air, furious and pain. David shouted through gritted teeth, "Survive, even if it breaks you." The predator twisted violently, dragging him into the mud. Claws slashed his shoulder, tearing cloth and flesh. David's scream echoed raw, his eyes burning with fire. The deer stumbled upright, staggering weakly as chaos raged. The predator's roar mixed with his own cry, a duet of pain and will. The jungle exploded with motion, leaves shaking, birds scattering. The climax had become a storm of flesh and fury. Mud, blood, and breath collided into one final moment. The jaguar rose for a killing strike, but David drove forward, pushing the broken spear deeper. The predator roared, collapsing sideways into the muck. David's chest heaved violently, his body trembling, vision blurred. He gasped, "The jungle spares no one, yet tonight I endure." The deer froze, wide-eyed, before stumbling back into shadows. David fell to his knees, blood dripping into soil. The predator lay still, chest rising once, then silence. The jungle hushed as if holding its breath. Survival had chosen its victor, but at a merciless cost. The jungle hushed, its storm fading into distant echoes. David collapsed into the mud, chest heaving, his blood seeping into the earth. He whispered, "The ground claims what it always has." The jaguar lay motionless, body broken, eyes dimmed. For a fleeting breath, David felt sorrow, not triumph. "You were not villain, only hunger," he muttered. The deer stood trembling, her fragile frame frozen in silence. Dawn's first rays pierced through the canopy, painting the ground in gold. The jungle did not mourn nor celebrate. It simply endured, indifferent. Survival was not victory, only continuation. David lifted his gaze toward the trembling deer. She blinked, wide-eyed, uncertain whether to flee or remain. He whispered, "You live because the jungle wills it, not because I shielded you." His arm trembled as he pressed the wound on his shoulder. The deer swayed, fragile but breathing. David's eyes softened, seeing her not as prey but as a mirror of himself. "We are bound by the same weight," he muttered. The silence of the forest felt endless, broken only by dripping rain. The fight had ended, Yet the cost of survival pressed heavier than the predator's claws. The deer stepped back, her hooves sinking into soft mud. Her breath steamed in the cool air, fragile yet defiant. David exhaled, whispering, "You will vanish into shadows, but I will carry your survival." His chest burned with pain, his arm weak. Yet his eyes glowed with fierce clarity. The predator had fallen, but the jungle's law was unchanged. "We both endure until the next hunger," he murmured. The mist thinned as sunlight spilled wider, chasing away remnants of night. The battle ended not with victory, but with a quiet truth. Life continued, no matter the cost. David dragged himself upright, mud clinging to every limb. He whispered, "The jungle leaves no soul untouched." His gaze shifted to the jaguar's still body, rainwater dripping from its whiskers. For a moment, he bowed his head. "You were no enemy, only rival in the same war." The deer lifted her head, ears twitching as light touched her coat. She hesitated, then limped slowly into the trees. David muttered, "Go. The jungle writes your story now." Silence pressed close again, but it no longer carried fear. It carried inevitability, the truth that survival was never truly won. The jungle breathed again, alive yet unchanged. David stood swaying, body broken but unyielding. He whispered, "The storm has passed, but the law remains." The deer vanished into shadow, leaving only faint tracks pressed into wet earth. David pressed his hand to his wound, his face set in grim resolve. He muttered, "I endure today. Tomorrow is uncertain." Dawn rose fully, casting the jungle in gold and crimson. The silence was haunting, complete, eternal. The jungle did not care who survived, only that survival demanded sacrifice. The echo of battle lingered, a truth carved into the soil forever. David staggered through the clearing, the weight of the broken spear dragging in his hand. His chest rose sharply, blood drying on his skin. He whispered, "The jungle remembers only silence after the storm." The deer had vanished, her tracks fading into shadow. The jaguar's body lay still, already claimed by flies and earth. David's eyes narrowed, heavy with grief and defiance. He muttered, "I endured, but endurance is no triumph." Dawn's warmth felt cold against the cruelty of truth. The jungle did not honor him. It merely moved on. The echo of survival was emptiness itself. David paused, breath uneven, ears straining. The jungle had grown too quiet, every sound swallowed. He whispered, "The silence weighs heavier than the growl." His eyes searched the canopy, but no bird stirred, no branch cracked. Only the drip of water remained, falling steady like a ticking clock. His chest tightened. "It's never finished," he muttered. He realized the jungle's judgment was not survival, but isolation. Predator gone, prey gone, and he, standing alone. In that void, his body felt smaller than the trees, weaker than the silence. The echo was emptiness, vast and eternal. He dropped the broken spear, its sound sharp against wet earth. David whispered, "The jungle strips us bare, until nothing remains." His shoulders sagged, body trembling from exhaustion and loss. For a moment he closed his eyes, hearing echoes of the deer's screams and the jaguar's roars blending into one memory. He muttered, "Predator, prey, man, no difference beneath this sky." His breath escaped in shallow bursts, mist curling upward. The silence pressed harder, a suffocating reminder that no bond, no battle, outlasted nature. The jungle consumed all, leaving only ghosts in its shadows. David opened his eyes and looked toward the tree line where the deer had vanished. He whispered, "You carry the spark now, but sparks fade." His voice cracked with both hope and sorrow. He staggered a step forward, but the weight of his wound pulled him back. "I endure today, yet tomorrow may choose differently." His body swayed as dawn's rays cut brighter, turning mist into fire. The jungle loomed endless, vast, unmoved. He muttered, "The earth does not grieve, it only waits." The silence lingered, sharp and absolute, pressing into his bones like truth carved in stone. David stood alone as the jungle swallowed the last traces of the night's war. He whispered, "Survival is no triumph, only the echo of what is lost." His breath shuddered, his eyes fixed on nothing. The jaguar's silence, the deer's absence, his own fragile heartbeat. One cry of a bird split the air, sharp, piercing, unforgettable. It was not a song of victory, but of warning. David muttered, "The jungle endures, and so must I." The sound lingered long after the bird's wings vanished. The echo carved itself into him, eternal, merciless, and absolute.